What's going on, everybody? Dylan Napoleone with Home of Fight here in San Diego, California. I am joined by the recently added CEO to the PFL. I want to say congratulations. It's a pleasure to meet you. You and I have not talked yet or had any interviews or anything, so congratulations, man. It's cool to be here. And first and foremost, how has this new journey been for you? Has it been everything you've expected and more, or what do you say?
No, I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks. We haven't spoken before, but I was looking forward to doing this.
Yeah,
so thank you. Look, I've been at the PFL now for just shy a year. Yeah. And and it's a lot has happened. Like, I decided to make a lot of changes to the promotion in a pretty reasonably quick period of time, right? With new vision, new product, new emphasis. And I'd like to say, I'm a fairly ambitious executive and fairly impatient. But I like the direction that the PFL is going in. I think the early signs of growing and scaling at even a faster rate than the promotion has been in the past is there. Yep. And now my job is to take that and continue to build on it, raise the level of the brand, which is still, I think, somewhat underappreciated, and continue to push the envelope of what we're willing to do from a risk-taking standpoint and from a, most importantly, satisfying and delighting the MMA fans.
Yeah, well said. But when you first started, when you got the opportunity, or maybe you were thinking about coming aboard and taking on this role in the PFL, what was your assessment of the brand like before you had even started, and how exciting was it for you to be able to come here and use your vision to kind of get started? Yeah,
I've been a huge UFC fan since the early days. I was a martial artist as a hobby for 15 years or so. And so when I first heard of the opportunity to potentially lead PFL, I had heard of the PFL, and of course I had heard of Bellator, and I knew the companies merged, but I took some time to really look at what is the PFL. And my conclusion is that the brand isn't as well known as it deserves to be, because the fighting quality and the talent of the fighter roster is considerably better than what your average, even MMA fan, would believe or think. And I thought and believed that the promotion wasn't showcasing the quality of those fighters in the manner in which it should. And the event production was good, but I come also from a media and sports background, so I thought we could elevate the production even more. Yep. Again, little things, but things that matter. The pacing of the event, keeping fans engaged, whether you're in the event arena itself or whether you're watching it on TV. And I liked the commitment that PFL had made in the past to geographical expansion and getting more and more around the world. First MMA organization to ever host an event in Saudi, on the continent of Africa, in Dubai, in France, and in Spain this year.
Yeah, that was cool.
And I want to continue that commitment, because the world is a really big place, and what makes martial arts unique compared to a lot of other sports is it has no borders. It's instantly recognizable. It's primal, and I think the ability to continue to push boundaries even more is something that got me really excited. Yeah. So I will tell you, hopefully you could see I'm still excited about this. So I'm a year in. Yeah. It's not easy every day. It's a harder job than I possibly would have thought. It's fast moving. It's electric, and I think I see even more opportunity today than I did when I accepted the job to grow the promotion and make it a considerable success.
Yeah. Well, let's get started with their summer series. Like, that's the reason we're all here. Your summer series is a clear example of everything you just told me in terms of picking up quick, right? You got some crazy events going on this summer with some of the biggest names in the organization. Is this something that PFL fans can expect from you? Because this is something that I can tell is new with your involvement. You really packed out some great shows, locations. I can tell you did that pretty strategically in terms of, for example, bringing Brian Battle in a big fight with Dalton Rasta to Charlotte. That's a perfect example of using a fighter, bringing him to his hometown. It's going to benefit him. It's going to benefit you. All of that different stuff. So, is that a part of your vision, like the different areas and all that type of stuff to really allow these guys to compete at home, which is going to help them, but help the brand as well, right?
Well, the quick answer is yes. So summer series, in 8 weeks, we're going to have 6 events, 6 U.S. cities with 4 championship fights. And I will tell you, I started going to UFC events in 2005. Wow. And I'm a huge sports fan. I've been to 3 World Cups, 5 World Series, NBA championships, Super Bowls. I mean, I've had the privilege and the opportunity to attend all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, this World Cup is spectacular. I'm a huge soccer fan. But if you're in an MMA event and you're watching fighters, and all of a sudden a hometown fighter walks out, the intensity of the engagement of the fan base is palpable. Like, you can feel it in the arena. And so I'll give you an example. Like, yes, Brian Battle, Charlotte native, will be there later this summer. And he's excited, right? He's excited.
Oh, I know he is.
The city's excited. It's good for them. It's good for the PFL. But we just did that. So Brian Battle's fighting Dalton Roster. Dalton, native of Pittsburgh.
Right.
That's been arguably one of the most fun events we've had this year in Pittsburgh, and it was largely on his back. And he walked out into the cage with a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey on, and I thought the roof was going to explode off of that event arena. I think it's great. I mean, I think it's great for the sport. And what I tried to tell folks at the PFL, because I'm not even sure they understood it, is when I'm watching on TV, I want to see that. You can sense the excitement. You want it to feel big. You want it to feel like everybody is really excited and engaged, and we're doing it. So I'm really happy. Now, the PFL's done that outside the U.S. in the past. You know, they've had 18,000 people in Paris. They've had, you know, consistently 10 plus 11,000 in Dubai. You know, we just had almost 10,000 in Madrid, Spain. It's the first premium MMA event ever to be held in the country of Spain. Hard to believe. But to do those types of things, I think, is going to elevate the brand, engage the fighters even more, make them more excited to be part of the PFL roster. So I think it's good. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Now, I know after the summer series, you're definitely not going to let off the gas. You're still going to pump out the events, still have very fun things. But in terms of consistency with championships and these high-level fights, with your leadership, is this something that people can expect for the foreseeable future? Your summer series is stacked, right? I know what is it gonna look like after that? Is that your vision overall, to keep these events looking like that?
Yes, is a simple answer. So we'll do 24 events this year around the world. This is probably the most intense velocity of events this summer, but we'll have events, you know, consistently throughout the back part of the year, and there'll probably be a blend of U.S. and international. And we've got a development league in the Middle East. We've got a development league in Africa. We'll have events there continuing throughout the year. And I'm already considering maybe increasing the number of events next year. So I'd like to continue, you know, the cadence, because what we learned, or what I learned recently, is coming in. When we held the event in Pittsburgh earlier this year, that was the first time the PFL was in the U.S. in almost 8 months. That's way too long to be out of a market. I mean, if you're out of a market for 8 months, guess what? You're forgotten. And yes, fans in the U.S. could watch the international events, but they're not at ideal times, and it just makes it more difficult to connect with the brand. So when you're running a global promotion, those are challenges, right? If you want to hold an event in Dubai, it's going to be at prime time Dubai. So we'll balance that, but I want to, you know, we have to make some sort of a statement in the U.S. You can't have a successful global promotion and ignore the U.S. So that's what we're attempting to do this year, and we're off to a pretty good start.
I would agree, man. I have to just simply say I think so too. 100%. I want to get into some fighter kind of situational types of things. One thing I have to say is, you're right off the rip, or this year we have Cris Cyborg making her retirement fight. You guys are obviously putting on a big show to help her retire and make that a big moment, which nonetheless, I have to say I respect that, because Cris Cyborg's a legend and she deserves a great retirement fight. So I can see that is in the works, of course, so that's going to be super cool. But how important was it to give her a moment like that?
Hugely important, and I really mean what I say. Yesterday I said I look forward to celebrating her career leading into that final event, because she does deserve it. What she's done for the sport, what she's done for women's fighters everywhere. I mean, yes, you talk about Gina Carano, you talk about Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes, I mean, Kayla Harrison now. They're all breaking, you know, blazing a trail, but it really started with, you know, Gina Carano and Cris Cyborg. The last fight that Gina Carano had before this recent MVP event, where she hadn't fought in 17 years, 17 years ago, Gina Carano lost to Cris Cyborg. But the difference is Cris Cyborg never left the sport. And she went over a decade without losing. She's been a world champion in 5 different promotions. And she's been really, really good to the PFL. And so, yes, what was really important to me was, and we took a little bit of time to set up her last fight because I wanted to make sure that she had a competitor that was worthy of it being her last fight. So with us signing Ketlen Vieira, who's not going to be easy.
Right.
And I know Ketlen really wants to make a statement, and I said this yesterday, and I believe it. People remember those that take out legends.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think it's going to be a really, really exciting fight in Florida in August.
Yep.
And I know there's going to be a lot of Brazilians there to support her,
yeah.
and I look forward to the PFL giving her a proper send-off.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's one of the stars in the promotion that, like you said, I can't say enough about her, but all I could say is she deserves it. You guys are putting it on for her. Nothing but respect for that.
Thank you.
You bring me right to the next point, Ketlen Vieira, her opponent, right? Ketlen recently, or not, her last fight in the UFC, she was victorious, got cut right after that. Your thoughts on it? Did she deserve it? Obviously beneficial to you. You got her in the PFL now. But how did that kind of happen? Because I feel like, she was probably a pretty hot free agent coming off that win, and she gave Kayla Harrison a pretty good fight. So how did that all come together?
Well, I can't comment on why she got cut from the UFC. Right. But I was thrilled because she's somebody that I've been personally following her career, and this is not an instance where we're taking somebody that the UFC doesn't want. I don't know what happened there, but we're happy to have her because she's an outstanding mixed martial artist,
right? And
really exciting to watch. She puts on really, really exciting fights. And I think, she's beginning her career now, and I know she wants to set her sights on her own legacy and her own championship opportunities. Yeah. This is the beauty of the PFL. Or mixed martial arts in general. We announced we've recently signed almost 20 new fighters. Yep. It's a dynamic ecosystem. We're going to continue to look for. We're not taking everybody that the UFC cuts, which I think some people think that's what the PFL is. It's not. If you look at some of our biggest, brightest stars, if you look at Dakota Ditcheva or Paul Hughes or Thad Jean, who's going to be AJ McKee. If you look, yeah, exactly. If you look at homegrown, Patrick Harborara now from Brussels and hugely popular in France. Identifying new stars early in their career, developing, put them through the PFL. That's what's ultimately going to make PFL stand on its own and get people more and more to recognize that it's just not a second tier to the UFC, that this is a promotion that from a talent standpoint can stand at the very top. I've said this, and I'll continue to say it. I think our middleweight division stacks up with the UFC and any other division in the world. I think we've got some middleweights that could fight with anybody in the world. I think also our featherweight division is approaching that too. I can't wait to see AJ and Salamat fight. I saw Salamat fight. He's an exciting fighter, 10-0, never been out of the first round. It's like, don't blink.
Yeah. Well, I have to mention this to you too. Yesterday, right in this room, we did a media scrum with Brian Battle, and I asked him, because he's seen the middleweight division of both the PFL and the UFC. He's fought he's well on his way to having more under the PFL, but he's very familiar with the middleweight division of both organizations. And he told me, he said that it's very close. He said that, but he wants to see some statistics because he thinks that the PFL has the younger, more quality fighters, whereas the UFC might have the dogs, but those guys are a little bit towards the end of their career and they're a little bit older at this point. So he thinks that the PFL has the hungry, young. He thinks that it would be a very close stack up, but he thinks he gives the PFL the young, hungry guys who are actually going to probably be fighting for longer at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked at the tenure of it, but I just looked at, when I was in Madrid and I saw Costello beat Fabian Edwards, and he did it really impressively, and I saw Costello beat Johnny Eblin in the last 10 seconds of round 5 in a fight that he probably was going to lose the decision. Johnny Eblin is a beast. And then Eblin was training with Sean Strickland, getting Strickland ready to win the middleweight championship. And Sean Strickland is calling out Johnny Eblin as an incredible training partner. And I think Strickland was like, keep this guy out of the UFC. He's going to be fighting for a belt. Yeah, that's fantastic. And Johnny Eblin really put the fight on Brian Battle in Pittsburgh, where he threw him around like crazy in the first round before he finished him. these guys are unbelievable athletes. And a guy like Johnny Eblen, he is hungry. And when I was in Madrid, Costello beat Fabian. I was talking to Costello. He's like, tell me middleweights that are going to compete with the depth that we have. And that was the first time that I said, that's when I went back. I looked at the respective rosters. I'm like, I think we've got as good, you know, we can hold our head high and feel confident in saying we could compete with anybody in the world.
Yeah, no, 100%. Right off the chest, why do you think that, because you're telling me about all these great rosters and these great divisions, how come like the PFL hasn't gotten some of that recognition that you think it deserves yet? I know your goal is to get it, but why division's so good, you're putting on great fights, and I know that it's ramping up, but how come do you think it never got that respect? Look,
I don't think you can, and this is going to sound like an excuse, and it's not, because look, I'm old. You know, I was a media executive for 30 plus years at Time Warner, and I've seen brands get built and how they get scaled and how they get recognition and awareness. UFC is 33 years old. The PFL's 7 years old, but within that 7 years, the focus and emphasis of the PFL has changed any number of times. There was a world tournament. Then they bought Bellator. There were fighters that weren't really suited to fight in a world tournament. There was some problems with the integration of Bellator. The roster was too big. The fighters weren't fighting often enough. They had to cut the roster. All of that happened before I got here, but all of that holds back the power of the brand. And so people ask me all the time, even inside my own company, they're like, what's more important, the brand, UFC, or the fighters themselves, any individual fighter? I think it's the brand. And when the UFC comes to town, people will say, oh, we're going to go see the UFC. They may not even know who's fighting. That's the brand that is established over 33 years.
Right.
And they've delivered. And that's very admirable. We don't have that luxury. So now I'm trying to grow the brand awareness at the same time highlighting and showcasing the fighters.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, I decided to move away from the world tournament and make the US events feel bigger. And that's what we're doing. And I think that's going to help. Yeah. And the other thing is the UFC has benefited by strong distribution. And in the US, the PFL is yet to have a really strong distribution partner. UFC was on ESPN, PFL was on ESPN. Did you know that the PFL was on ESPN? Probably not. Mm-hmm. So that's where we have to overcome that bias. But I think it's very, very doable. Yeah. And we're beginning to get on that path where we're going to do it. I'm confident we're going to do it.
Yeah, no, I have to say, I from looking from the outside in, like it really does seem that way, and I can feel the momentum shifting that way. I will say, before I started my career in doing this kind of stuff, I'm from Connecticut, so I was around the Bellator era up there, especially during COVID and stuff. They had their bubble set up in my home state, and it was a really crazy period of time, and I've just seen so many Bellator shows. So I think getting back to that kind of way of having these, 1-2 big championship fights with a whole entertaining card to go with it, it's really, I think that's the way to do it, man. I have to say that. And I know you just got rid of the tournament, but what are your thoughts on the way Bellator used to do a small tournament inside a weight class?
Yeah. I mean, look, what I say even internally, you never say never. And one of the beautiful things about this sport is you can pivot and change. And I like the Grand Prix idea.
Yeah.
I just don't think at this particular moment in time, having the entire 8 weight classes do a tournament is the best way to engage the fans. It also became very hard for the athletes.
Yeah.
And, when you're doing a tournament, injuries inevitably occur, and the tournament was in a pretty condensed period of time.
Yep.
So you'd have fighters that would basically get to the final and get injured and couldn't fight. And we didn't have the luxury then to delay the event because we had a TV schedule, so then you had to replace and then you lose the integrity of the tournament. But these Grand Prix tournaments, I think, can be very, very engaging when you take a weight class. And I think Usman Nurmagomedov, way back when, was a Grand Prix champion. Yep. And so I like it, and I'll never say never. And I know Dakota Ditcheva would love to bring back the tournament because she loves to stay busy, and she's expressed the desire to fight 3 times a year at least if she can.
Yeah.
So I think we'll continue to make the decisions that we think are in the best interest of the promotion, but that includes the fans. And look, when I decided to sunset the tournament, I got some criticism from fans that really loved it, but I think the majority think this is better.
Yeah. No, 100%. Well said. On the topic of Dakota Ditcheva, you're right. She does want to be more active. It seems like she's also been so, like, she says it, but you could tell she's a businesswoman too. Like, she knows where everything stands and stuff. She's been very respectful of wanting more fights and stuff. So as the CEO and as you guys continue to evolve, get more fighters here in the PFL, what's the plan like to keep her active and make sure that at all times you have some ready, available, willing, and able, like, quality opponents for her?
Well, we've invested in the talent pool of that weight class, in part because I think whether it's Dakota or pick any division,
Yep.
Our ability to attract and retain top talent is going to be somewhat dependent on our ability to have enough depth in any division that the elite athletes could feel like that they're still being pushed, right? And so even Dakota has said, like, she's been very impressed with some of the signings that we've made.
Yeah.
And look, her inactivity has not been because of the PFL. It's been because she suffered 2 unfortunate injuries in a row to her hands. So she's been out of the cage for almost a year. Mm-hmm. So I'm thrilled that she's going to be back competing again. I think she's a huge star for us. I think she may be, Cris Cyborg is in her farewell fight, but I think Dakota may be the biggest name in women's fighting right now.
Yeah.
So look, if she's happy and she's competing and she wants to be active, and I think it's good for her, it's good for us.
Yeah. So it sounds like getting her back on July 31st is just a spark to something big.
100%. Yeah, the New York card's going to be an exciting card.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be there. It's going to be super cool. Archie, Colgan, and Usman Nurmagomedov is one hell of a fight.
Archie is a tough opponent.
It's a good fight, man.
Usman. That's going to be an incredibly. Archie's undefeated, Usman's undefeated. That's like 33 wins and no losses standing in a cage. Yeah, that's pretty cool. 2
amazing competitors. It's going to be one hell of a fight. I got one last question for you. I wanted to finish up with this one. I was at the inaugural MVP event out here in California not too long ago.
So was I.
You were there too. Mm-hmm. So I was in the media room actually after the fights, and Nikisa Badaria and Jake Paul are both asked about, PFL, and I'm not gonna lie, man, it seems like they're super willing to work with you guys and maybe collab on something. What are your thoughts? Are you open to something like that down the road with them too?
The quick answer is yes. It has to be right for the PFL. Yep. But I know Nikisa. I've spoken to him any number of times. I've said this publicly, and it happens to be true. I say what I really believe. I was wishing them well and hoping that they succeeded on May 16th, because I do think that we're all trying to grow a sport. Yeah. And what MVP has done, honestly, better than PFL, is bringing in casual fans. And that's Jake Paul as a really, well-known social media influencer for a really long time, and now a true boxing star. Yeah. And Nikisa's done an amazing job building that promotion. And we've talked about what we might be able to do together. And so, we also have a fight share agreement with Ryzen. Okay. And I'm open to things like that. But what we won't do is share our fighters to build somebody else's promotion if we don't. It's got to be reciprocal. But I respect what MVP has done. I mean, it's a relatively young company, but they've broken through some barriers that I think many people thought they probably couldn't do. Yeah, no, fair enough. I think like you said, it can't be one guy eats and the other doesn't. But if you guys were able to find an agreement, and like I remember Bellator and Ryzen used to do those shows and stuff, there's definitely some super cool things. I've talked to Saki Kabura-san about that. Yeah. Those have been some fun shows. I guess 100%. They had a number of years where they did New Year's Eve shows. That'd be fun. Exactly. And every fighter's dream is to go out there and compete in Japan too. So that would just be a really cool thing all around. Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, we've had some interesting discussions. Absolutely. I look forward to anything like that, and just in general what you've got going on right now, because I have to say it's really cool. PFL's on the up and up. The fighters are loving this week, and the panel yesterday was super cool, and the summer series should be super exciting. So I appreciate the time, John, and wishing you all the best, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Thank you, man.